Good afternoon. I'm Amy Ryan, Deputy Editor of Metering and Smart Energy International, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio. Today with me I have Gerardt Viljoen, the Managing Director of Sensus South Africa and speaker at this year's conference. Hi Gerardt.
Good day. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thanks.
Gerardt, can you tell me more about the topic that you will be addressing at the conference this year?
Yes. It's a little bit of more a challenge than a topic. The organizers asked me, so what's my message going to be today? And I told them I'm not here today to deliver a message.
Yeah.
I'm here today to pose a challenge. And I think what I'm trying to get across today is that in the water industry, in the utilities industry, today we already have grown from all normal metering and mechanical metering to be able to provide advanced metering infrastructure. And my challenge today to the audience would be that we should start investing today. We shouldn't wait for tomorrow, but start investing today in advanced metering infrastructure so that we can better manage our water resources, better manage our utilities and our networks, so that at the end of the day, we can get to a point where we know what's happening in our networks, better manage, better maintain, and be in a position where we can be proactive rather than always reactive on what's happening in our networks.
Okay. I want to touch on the water supply shortages and water scarcity challenges that we face in sub-Saharan Africa. It's been a well-documented phenomenon recently, the drought, and coupled with the water scarcity issue. I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what is the cost of inaction with regards to the not implementing the appropriate measures to combating this problem?
Look, I think it's very difficult in putting what is the cost of not doing this?
Yeah.
Because there's always a cost of doing something. Obviously, technology comes at a cost. Nothing's for free. But the point is that at the end of the day, and I'm specifically talking about water today because this is where my passion is that you cannot really put a price on water. I mean, we can live without electricity, excuse for the electricity guys, but you cannot live without water. So what's the price you put to that? The price to that is life. And I think it's very important for us to start realizing this and understand that water is not a limitless resource. As I was saying, water is life, and you cannot put a price to life. And people need to understand that water is not a limitless resource. We need to continue and look at this resource that if it's no longer there, I mean, today you buy anything off the shelf, you buy 2-minute noodles, it says just add water. You buy soup, it says just add water. What will happen by the day if there is no more water? And I think people need to start thinking around those lines. And this is where technology starts playing a critical role, because technology will enable us to look into the future. It will give us trending, it will give us information which we can utilize in building and maintaining and structuring and growing our water resources and water network to such an extent that we can maximize the utilization thereof.
So I think you've kind of touched on the value of water in our daily lives, what we do. Do you think that water as a resource or shortage of water could trump the shortage of electricity as a resource that could cripple our economy? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I have to apologize to the electricity guys, but most certainly yes. I mean, if you just look at generation of electricity, what do they use? They use water. So the point is, if they don't have water, we won't have electricity. However, if we don't have electricity, we can still have water. And again, back to my point where I was saying that we as humans can probably live without electricity. Yes, it will not be comfortable. I don't like doing that. But you cannot live without water. And based on an economy, if you do not have water, you do not have electricity. And the economy as a whole is actually dependent on its basics and its ground stones, if I can call it that. And everything is built from how strong is your foundations. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, I would say that water is probably the foundation of your whole economy, because everything that you produce, I mean, if you just look at a grain of, if you look at the sugar that you take into your coffee, not only do you put water into the coffee, but to generate or to grow that sugar to put into the coffee also makes use of water. So yes, I think the shortage of water will very soon outrun the importance into our economy than the shortage of power. Yeah.
Okay. And then, in your experience or work with with utilities, what are some of the particular pain points or challenges that they have, maybe spoken to you about in terms of water specifically?
Look, I think utilities as a whole, specifically speaking into South Africa, we sit with a huge challenge around leakage. So, and I think this will be a challenge all over Africa, where you sit with aging infrastructure, and this aging infrastructure inherently starts generating leakage. And if you look at the latest released figures on non-revenue water in South Africa, it's sitting at 38%. Now, I mean, if you look at 38% of your water that you need to clean, you need to pump, you need to distribute, you need to store, and 38% of that's just gone, nobody knows where it's going, that's a significant portion of the water which you cannot account for. Now, of the unaccounted for water, that 38%, 20% of that's just leakage. And I think the importance is that if you have the technologies to your disposal, make use of that technology so that we can start looking into see how can we curb this loss in leakage. I mean, if we can curb the loss in leakage, bring it down from 20% to 15% or even down to 5%, just think about the amount of water that we have in circulation and for distribution additional without having to get more rain. That's just where I'm at this point.
You mentioned smart metering or advanced meter infrastructure, and this is what I wanted to ask you about the technological options out there for utilities. Maybe you can touch on a bit more about metering and its benefits, and of course what other technologies are out there that will help utilities tackle this challenge.
Look at it, I'm going to be biased because I am from Sensus. So when you look at AMI, AMR, I believe that currently in the market we have the best solutions that's available. We have solutions for small community areas that will do water management for smaller areas. We have solutions for larger areas like metropolitans and stuff like that. We have a large solution called FlexNet, which will not only be able to manage water, but it will manage water, gas, electricity, everything into one. And I think this is where we should start looking and see how can we bring everything together into a central point so that we have a single view of all our utilities as a whole. I think it is important to bring the technology in because it will enable the utilities to make better choices based on reliable data. So,
and that's what all of the energy transition is about. It's that data, it's that value that you get from that data.
Exactly, yes,
where do you think the most investment is needed in improving water networks or the efficiencies of water networks?
Look, I think the problem is that one will have to look at if you want to improve a water network, it's very difficult improving a water network if you only look at a one portion. You have to look at the end-to-end solution. That means that you have to look all the way from the dams, from the purifying facilities, to your reservoirs, your distribution units, everything. And I think the importance of technology is that through products like the Sensus FlexNet, we are able to distribute monitoring points throughout the whole ecosystem and the whole network to make sure that we can manage and monitor that thing as an end-to-end solution. The point is, if you only start, okay, we upgrade the home meters, we put prepaid meters for that matter. It means that yes, you can monitor that one user and you can switch off his water if he doesn't pay. But what happens to the leakage up the line? What happens to the loss that you incur up the line? And I believe it is critically important that we have technologies that can in real time give us usage across the whole network so we can do a proper water balance of our water network and maintain it properly in that sense.
Okay. And then do you think there's a disconnect between the water at the level that water is priced at the moment to compared to the actual value of the resource itself? Is there not enough financial value being placed on water in terms of what we are being charged?
That is actually like a two-edged sword question.
Yeah.
Because on the one side, the utilities say, listen, we cannot invest in smart water metering because water is too cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, the revenue that we generate from water is so little, it doesn't justify it. Don't justify the investment on smart metering. On the other side is that, as I said, electricity you can do without, water you can't. So in my opinion, water is a basic human right. And everybody needs to have access to basic water. So, and I think this is where it comes to that point. So is it too expensive? Is it too cheap? Do you need to pay for a basic water? The next question would be, how much do we pay for the oxygen that we conceive every day? You know, so I think the price of water is a sensitive subject, but price doesn't translate into value. And I think that's what we need to understand, that the value of water is so much greater than the price that we can hook up to that. And the price that we link to water has got nothing to do with the value.
Yeah.
And I think if we realize the value of water and what that brings to our day-to-day life and our day-to-day economy, we will start investing it because of the value, not because of the investment and the money return on investment.
Okay. And then lastly, what would your advice be to utilities or utility CEOs, be it water utilities or energy or across the board?
Well, my advice to all of them would be to start today. I can't remember who said it, but he said, if you plant a tree, you do not plant that tree for you. You don't plant it for your wife. You plant that tree for the generations to come. And I think this is very much similar in the water industry. And I think it's time to start investing now. The guys that's going to start investing now in the proper technology, in the proper information technology, in AMR and AMI, won't do it for themselves. The investment that they do today will be for generations to come. So I think my message to all the CEOs today was, have a look at where you are today. Get a plan of where you want to be in 5 or 10 years from now. But don't delay your investment. Start the investment as soon as possible, because trees need time to grow, and so does the investment in advanced metering infrastructure. The sooner you deploy it, the sooner you will see the benefit. But if you delay it too long, you might get to a point where you've already delayed it too long, and the water loss is just so great that there's no turning back from there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Gerardt. That brings us to the end of our time. This is Amy Ryan coming to you from the African Utility Week studio.